steeper path, the climb I choose, leaving comfort, nothing to lose. Through shadow trails and rocky ground, my purpose clear, my meaning found. Each step I take brings strength anew. Challenges faced, resilience grew. A journey tough, but richly sweet, where soul and life's alignment meet. At peaks ahead, the vision clear, my greatest goals becoming near. The steeper path, though hard and slow, is where my truest self will grow. The steeper path.
You're at this funky place now where it's like,
Yeah.
I went into the new phase and did all the excitement of the transition from work to having the ability to dictate my own direction. And
Yep.
you went through filling it with first travel and then setting up the new home, getting everything ready, buying a car, kind of, you got a new dog. You guys have like established a whole new life. And now it's like, okay, what do I do every day for the next N years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not a bad feeling. It's a curious feeling, but in the days, like I think it reminds me of parenthood where they say the days are long, but the years go fast. So thankful to have it. But like you have days where you're like, what did I do today? I watched World Cup consistently all day. So I watched 3 soccer matches, but yeah. And so for me, I've just been trying to be in it and letting it go. And if that's what I do all day, so be it. So, but like, it's a challenging thing when you're used to working type A and you need to know what's next. I don't have a roadmap as a product manager. I have no roadmap right now. And I'm trying to be okay with that.
And it's kind of scary too and uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. It's not scary.
Yeah.
It is not scary for me at all. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, I get it. I'm glad it's not scary because for some people it is. But I get the uncomfortable part. Rich, how about you? Like, are you in the same? I know you're wired differently and come from a different work background than Lizzie, where we're kind of in this, go product management world. Is this hard for you, or anything surprise you about this?
Like some of the things are not surprised at all. Like being antsy. Like I knew I would be antsy. I knew I needed physical activity in order just to feel copacetic. I think the challenging part is what I found really surprising is there's so many choices and it's been hard to make a decision. I was talking to Lizzie yesterday. She's watching soccer all day. And I think that's super wonderful that we can do our own things and enjoy ourselves in that way. And I'm like, I can do all these things. I can go on a motorcycle ride. I can go to the gym. I can do X, Y, Z all the way until like ZZ. And I ended up staying home and not doing anything. So that's why I found it more challenging so far.
In that's also a really important point is like there is a paradox of choice, right? It's like, I would love to have more choices in my life. And the minute you actually get that option, choices become overwhelming and paralyzing sometimes.
For sure. And is that paralyzation out of the fear of the unknown?
Right.
Or the fear of not finding acceptance, which is, I think, something that is a lifelong journey for most people.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Where do you fit in?
Yeah. And I'm sure, I know I went through this process of my own narratives around free time, my own narratives around productivity or what it means to spend time, right? And so like I have lots of time, but this morning I took my son to school. I got up, I unloaded the dishwasher, I made breakfast for everyone, I packed his lunch, I took him to school, I painted a front door, I made lunch and got on this call, and I'm booked until 5 o'clock today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do this.
Right.
I don't have to do this. But I had to figure out, why am I doing this? Like, what's behind the need to be busy? And the good news is that none of this is forced on me. These are all choices I'm proactively making. These are priorities and things I actually enjoyed painting the door. It was great to use my hands to get something done, right? But, and I enjoy the conversations I'm going to have with people today, but it was a choice. But getting to that place where you're like, okay, here's how I'm going to allocate my priority buckets with my time now in a world without someone else's priorities dictating it. That's the hard part.
Yep. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Like, what's that look like? And so, like, I'm curious if you guys have been, sort of looking at those buckets and saying, I've got a pie of time here, and I've got different accounts that I could spend time in. And have you gotten to that place yet where you're negotiating that with yourself? And it's okay if you haven't, because you're new into this journey. But I ended up there where it was like, okay, here are all the possibilities to narrow the sense of overwhelm and optionality. Like, let me just give myself some buckets: friends, family, hobbies, health, make some money, spend some money, do some fun things, do some hard things, right? And I had to kind of give myself that pie chart and look back and say, okay, I'm going to allocate these percentages of time so that I don't let time slip away from me.
I don't think I have all the buckets yet. Yeah. I think for me, I have two things. Like, I know community and friends are super important to see, like, and kids, right? Yeah. I have two sons. We typically go have lunch with Finn once a week, who lives close, and then we're going to go see Thayer and his friends. And so those things are important, right? Community is important.
Yeah.
Self-care, health is important. But I haven't figured out the other buckets. And the other thing that's interesting is I'm so used to, and it could be because I even worked on a calendar product, I'm so used to thinking of it in a day, if that makes sense. And I didn't even think about this till you said it. And I'm so used to putting those buckets in a day. You can't, because we don't have a normal routine, right? We're in Denver for 2 weeks. Then we're going on the road for a road trip, with the dog. We're going to go see some things. We're going to see the kids. We're gone for 2 weeks. So that idea of I have a structured day where I can go, like in our building here, we have a gym. I can go to the gym. Well, what happens in those 2 weeks? And what tends to happen for me is, in my professional life, unless I had a daily schedule, it was hard for me to keep those buckets. Like, I don't know how to do it in the structure of a month, if that makes sense. I know how to do it in the structure of a day. Time is a little different. You're used to looking at, like, the bucket of work, dinner, health, and it's in 24 hours. Well, what if it's in 35 days?
Yes.
How does that look? And I haven't figured that out.
I totally get it. And I think it's something you start to have to experiment with, either in recognizing and accepting that you're going to exist in different modes. There's going to be sort of a certain allocation of time and effort within one environment and a different one in a different environment, because it's hard to do the same things outside of one, especially when you're traveling. But at the same time, you start paying attention to days and start paying attention to the longer horizon and going, okay, am I moving directionally in the right direction? Right. Instead of being so precise about progress measured in days, because that's at work how we do it. Right.
And it's an interesting transition, right? Like, yeah. And also to allow yourself, like, if you, like, Monday, I didn't feel so good. I had allergies. I had some things going on, and I allowed myself to just exist.
Yeah.
Right? That's hard to do.
Isn't it?
And I think I kept apologizing to Rich because I felt bad. I don't know why. Right? But, like, it's a luxury to be able to do that. And I'm sure many people would be like, I'd love to do that. It's a weird thing when you can.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody needed to talk to me. Nobody needed anything from me.
There was no deliverable on your head.
I think the thing that's sometimes lost is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? I think maybe that's the point. Like, I never really thought about it until just now, until I just said it. Like, we have the dream, we achieved the goal of retiring early. Now that we have it, now what do we do? And that's probably the most eye-opening statement I've said so far,
Indeed,
at least for myself.
right?
So.
And it's not, and also too, I want to make sure it's not complaining. We're not complaining at all.
No.
But it is like, people have asked like how we fill our days, or like there's a curiosity on what you go through. Like, I think you told me, Lynn, at the beginning, you get sick because your cortisol levels drop.
Yep.
You get sick a lot, right? Like, and people don't expect that. Like, there are things that happen that, like, I don't think people really understand as you shift into this different way of existing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no book or course or roadmap for how to manage this out there right now. And so I think a lot of us who've done it are just learning on the fly, from this experience. And I think that's why it's important to have these conversations publicly, because we're all trying to figure this out together. One of the things that stood out to me in this situation is this need that we have to make sure that the day is productive somehow, or that there's some output from the day. And this idea of, I was sick, I never had the chance to just be sick and just not be productive. And it was uncomfortable, right? It was uncomfortable just to spend a day being and not doing. Do you think that's something that's a part of your personality, or do you think it was something you learned?
Yeah, probably. Right. Probably a learned behavior too.
Mm-hmm.
Reinforced behavior.
Yeah.
Right. I know that I have ADHD, right? A level of it. So of course, right? Like just being in your mind and sitting is hard.
Yeah.
But I also don't have clarity on what I want to do next. And so I'm trying to just sit in it, as I said before. And it's super uncomfortable because it goes against, 40 years of working.
Yeah. That impulse is hard to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, do you struggle the same way?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've always been a task-driven kind of person. So not having those tasks there kind of filled me for a loop. So like Lizzie, I think the struggle with just being in your own present space, it has been a struggle for me. Not going on my phone and playing a stupid mahjong game.
Right.
And I'm just doing it. I just want to be distracted. No other reason than that. So I think those things I'm looking forward to, like, delving into and finding the reason behind it. Not so much the mechanism. I know what the mechanism is. I'm fucking bored.
Yeah.
Bored.
It's fine to swear.
Or I've gone from a task-driven mindset to an open-ended kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, those kind of challenges I'm looking forward to. I'd like to put those in my buckets and see what comes from it. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, yeah, there is entire religions have been built around the idea of learning how to sit still. And it's not something that humans do well. Or animals in general do well. We're not wired to sit still. And so, when you look at Zen monks meditating for 20 hours a day, sitting on a cushion and calming their mind and their body to be able to do that, that's in itself kind of a miracle that they're able to do that. And that's the art of what they do. And so part of it is we're all wired a different way. We all have different brains that work in different ways. Some people are really good at chilling. There are people I know who are really good at doing nothing and perfectly comfortable at it. They're not always the most financially successful, but that's okay. That's how they're wired. But they're fine with it. And then there's others, especially if you have some form of ADHD or another very active neurotransmitter challenge in your brain, that, you're fighting your own wiring. You're fighting impulses at the molecular level. And so don't think it's fair to characterize this as I need to learn how to do it. I think learning why is important, and then recognizing who you are and what fits for you. But I think one of the distinctions I want to draw out here is that, the two of you recently left your careers. And you didn't leave at a quote unquote retirement age, where there was a prescribed date. You guys are still pretty young, and you have potentially many years of productivity and work if you wanted to stay in your careers, but you got off of the treadmill. And so I think the interesting thing here is what we're talking about today isn't about how do I exist as a retired person or somebody who took early retirement. I mean, on paper, it looks that way. You're no longer employed. But the reality is that you did this so that you have choice over how you spend your time and your life. You have options, and you have something that means more to you to wake up for every day. Because when you work for others, you end up having their priorities be your priorities, even if they're not. And some days that works, and some days it's excruciating, especially if you don't feel any gratitude or appreciation for your work. And so the interesting thing here is that we're talking about a journey of how do I bring my life into alignment with who I am and what I would love to do? Because not everybody gets lucky enough to be able to do something like this, but those who do, I say, have a responsibility to themselves, because so few people get this, to figure out what is what's better than work for me. It doesn't mean not working, by the way. I mean, I work every day, and yet at the same time, nobody makes me do it. It's my priorities. It's my business. It's my passion for what I do that gets me up in the morning. And in fact, it's no longer work. It's just, cool. What am I doing today? Oh, wow. Look at all these awesome people I'm going to talk to. Great. That's amazing. So coming back to this journey you guys are in, you're in the first steps, I would argue, not of retirement, but of realignment before you're too old to do it. Because most people don't get to, by the time they get to retirement, they're like, oh man, I don't have any energy left to go do something else. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's like the first phase where you're so busy with travel and all the things that you haven't been able to pack in, like an extended vacation. We traveled for 3 months. You don't get to do that when you're working, right?
No.
Like all of those things. For me, I know I will do something. People have asked me. I just don't know what. I thought it was going to be one thing. And I think you and I have talked about this, Lynn. I've tried things. Nothing's quite fit yet for various reasons.
Yeah.
And it's not that like, but it's different than at work where I wasn't successful at this. So I'm going to do something else. It's just reasons. Like I was working, I think I told you, I was working with an Italian knitter. I thought about going back into fashion.
Yep.
Just doesn't feel right because they don't respond in a timely manner. And it just doesn't feel, I'm like, oh, this is going to make me angry if I have to work with this person and not get emails. And I don't want to do that. Right. So, okay, let's look at, and I've done some writing and people have been reading it. I don't know if I want to continue. People have said to me, like, so I look for these nuggets, like the places that I find on our trips, people find interesting. I don't know what to do with that. Is that something I do? I don't know. Right. So so I feel like I'm getting clues. But it's not as defined as it is when you're working for someone else. Because success in what you have, you're told, here's your outcome for 6 months. Here, this is not it. It's really like, what do I enjoy and what am I good at? And how do I want to spend my time? And so I don't know yet. And that's incredibly uncomfortable. Because normally you just kind of, I just kind of charge into something. I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to do this. That makes sense. I have not found that yet. So I guess I'm just kind of not waiting for it to come to me, but sitting in it to see what sticks, for lack of a better word. And also knowing it's okay to stop something that's not working.
Yes.
Which is something that, like, in corporate world, you have a goal. You can't just say, this isn't working. I don't think we want to do this anymore. When you do that in my old line of work, it was a whole, deprecating something and all these approvals from all these VPs. Now I'm like, oh, this isn't working. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, exactly. And that feels amazing, I bet, though.
Yeah. It's right? Very freeing on one sense, but it's also like you have a playbook in your head that means it didn't succeed. So you're constantly fighting.
Right.
Right. Like it's a little bit of a, like, you have to break the cycle in your head. On one hand, I don't want to keep doing something that's not working. On the other hand, in my head for 50 years, that means you built something that people didn't like.
Right.
So.
Right. Or, even the example you gave of the knitter in Italy, his work style, we don't know if he's a bad or a good person at what he does, but his work style is not working for you.
No.
Clearly. And in corporate world, it would have been like, deal with it. Right. Sorry, he's your
find a way to make it work.
Right? Make it work.
I would have sent emails and said, I need a schedule, and tried to manage this person.
And then there would have been a bunch of.
And I'm like, I don't want that in my life. Like, I don't want to do that.
Imagine the amount of overhead we spent in our lives trying to make things work that just didn't work. Right? With people who didn't work the way we work. Right? Rich is nodding his head too. I mean, it's like,
how many spoons do you spend on people out of your inventory?
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And so one of the coolest things about stepping aside and saying, I'm going to do it my way, is you actually get to recognize that and say, this cost me something. And I'm not willing to spend that energy or that time on this effort because it's low payoff for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I know my idea is a good idea. I just know these aren't the right people.
Right.
And I also know, because I worked in fashion before, and this is one of my questions is, all people in fashion are like this. So unless you can drive over there to the manufacturer and sit there, which I also have no interest in doing. I've done that before.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, maybe I just don't want to do this.
Maybe this isn't the thing to do.
Maybe this isn't the thing to do, because it's not. It doesn't enable us to be as mobile as we like and just take off for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It frustrates me because for whatever reason, maybe it's because I was brought up in the Midwest, not replying to someone and not like, it just, I find it so fucking rude.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I feel myself starting to get frustrated, and I'm like, okay, then I'm just not going to.
This is what you're talking about here. And I think this is, again, the place where you are and are going to be for a while is the process of coming back to you, to coming back to yourself, and to what I call self-knowledge. It's the process of getting to know who you are again, because we have bent and contorted and compromised ourselves in a pretzel for 30 years plus. And gotten to a place where it's like, is this me? Or is this how I was taught to think? Am I really interested in this? Or is this what I thought I should be interested in? Is this really the way I operate? Or is this the way I was conditioned to operate? And when you take all that scaffolding of expectations and goals and corporate cultures and, we're paying you money, so therefore you need to give us what we want in return, you take that scaffolding away, what's left is you. But you don't know you anymore. And it takes a while. And I'm going to say it's going to take you years, a year or more, for both of you to return back to oh, that's who I am again. And once you see yourself, you then have the next problem, which is accepting it. Because you may see yourself and go, well, damn it, I wish that's not very compatible with what I'd like to be. You know, gee, how am I going to rationalize this? How can I accept that? And that's the next process, is like not only being knowledgeable of who you are and knowing yourself again. I don't say self-aware, because I think you guys are self-aware. I call it self-knowledge, because you have to like, yep, this is how I'm made. This is how I tick, right? Including how my brain works, how, what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, what I find attractive, what I find repulsive.
How do I show up for people?
Yeah.
How do I want people to show up for me? All
Exactly.
those things that have been intertwined in that scaffolding for all those years is now
Bingo.
gone. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned something, other people also tend to have opinions about how you spend your time. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
wow, why do you care? Right? Like,
Yeah.
So I think the other thing for both of us independently and as a couple was who we spend time with matters, if it's compatible or not. And then like when people are judgmental, like I have no time for it. It's like, I'm working on, like, I'm working on myself. Mm-hmm. I get that you don't get it, but like for you to say most people don't pick up and move to a new city right away. Most people don't do this. I get it. I've never done what most people do. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but
that's what got you here.
Yeah. I've had more people with opinions on what we should do than I ever had at any point in my career. It's weird.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's really amazing, because even though you are beholden to no one, people still want to push their vision of what you should be. Right.
And I don't know why that is. It's a weird thing.
I think part of it is living vicariously through others. You know, people want to kind of have a taste of this and have a say in it and how it should be done, because that's how they would do it. They're longing for it too. Some people are just fucking nosy.
True. I think there's not a lot of people in peer group who are at this stage of life where we're at.
Right.
And that's challenging, to be honest, both ways for
you bet
people we don't know who are our peers and people who we do know who are our peers.
Yeah.
I can see how that's difficult.
Wonderful kind of surprises of people who you didn't even know. You're like, wow, like so tonight, like Wednesdays, we've always played trivia. We did it in the city. We do it in Denver. And I had, through my last job, had a few meetings with this guy who lives in Denver. And he said, oh, we should get together when we're there. Lovely surprise. Like, we're all super compatible. He's going through the same journey. Now we're playing trivia together. So also just those things you didn't see in your corporate life sometimes change, right? Like, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then the people that you were close with when you were working who are also on the same treadmill, sometimes that doesn't
You don't tend to follow along.
It doesn't fit anymore, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of like trauma bonding. I think about it that way. You know, when you go through a really rough experience, and you meet others who have gone through that rough experience, it doesn't matter what you have in common. That rough experience was enough to differentiate both of you from the rest of us, and you start to relate more to these people. And you can get into some really bad patterns and bad mindsets from trauma bonding. And I feel like corporate is kind of like that. You're all forced into this sardine can together. And you all have to go through this experience, and you think you have something in common, but it turns out you weren't being yourselves in the first place.
You're conforming.
You're conforming. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I have always mentored people. I have no interest in being a coach. I don't want to be a coach, but I still mentor people, and I am used as a sounding board, which I do like. What I don't like is when it's funny, I've noticed this, is when it turns into the trying to trauma bond. I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear about this, right?
Right.
Like, I don't want to hear about the drama between this VP and that VP. And like, I don't want to hear about it. But like, if you want to talk to me about you and how you're doing and what you want to do, I'm all in.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, like,
I want to go back and vent for a living, you know?
I have found myself wanting to say, why would you expect any different? And I'm so sick of hearing about this. Can you just stop talking? Like, either.
I shouldn't say this out loud, Lizzie, but this is the hardest part of my job as a coach, is having to talk to people every day about things that I walked away from a long time ago. And it's so tired. Those patterns, those situations, those personalities, it is really hard. And it's part of what I do. And I do show up for people that way because I need to. But one of the hardest things is hearing about the exact same thing. Like, what did you expect to happen? Right? Why are we rehashing this? You've seen this movie before, right? Yeah, I hear you.
And I don't, this is why I know I'm not meant to be a coach, because I don't have the empathy or the interest in it to hear it.
Yeah.
And to help. Like, that's when I can't help anymore for me. So I know that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's great to know yourself that way. Coaches, we have this principle called meeting people where they are. And I firmly believe in that in life in general. I didn't used to be this way, but I learned it through my coach training. And once that was given to me, it was like, wow, this is the most powerful gift I've ever had as a human being, is to meet people and see people where they are. And with empathy and with compassion, and just be like, this is where you are. I'm not going to make you feel judged or pushed away because of it. But that enables me to do my work. It's a hard thing to want to do and to learn to do. So I fully respect what you're saying. It's really hard to meet people.
I can't, and maybe I could in 2 years, but I also that path doesn't feel right for me. Mentoring people who I've known, who genuinely want to talk to me and talking them through things, love doing that. But it's informal and it's not for pay. It's just for people I care about.
So this is really interesting because you learned something about yourself already in the past few months. This being one example, what else have you learned about yourselves since you had the space to step away from the expectations, the identity, the community of work, from, you know, like, and it doesn't have to be profound. It could be really simple. Like, I like to sleep in my own bed. You know, it could be anything. But I'm just curious because, like, you just nailed very articulately something that is a non-negotiable for you. And this is often where that self-knowledge journey starts, is figuring out what I don't want before you're able to say what I do want.
I mean, I think we learned, so we spent 3 months traveling and we had to revert because we were in Tel Aviv during the bombing and we were on the go. And we originally thought we wanted to travel all the time and live out of a suitcase. Mm-hmm. I think we learned that is not what we want. Like, that was exhausting and fun. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. It's all of these things, but I think we do want more roots. And I learned the most important thing for me through that trip was community, not seeing, yes, I like to travel and see cool things, but like the community of people like we met on that trip. In some places we had community and in some places we didn't. And it turns out the most fulfilling places were where we had a community. And so that was something I think we both learned. I'm speaking for you, Rich. I don't know how you felt about that time.
Oh, I definitely love the community aspect of where we found it, and definitely felt more connected in those spaces. Sure. I think I hadn't really thought about what this time means to me until you asked that question, to be honest. This in that few short minutes, I think what has occurred to me is, like, I think for myself, I'm successful in a lot of areas. Obviously got here because of it. Luck and hard work was involved. Mm-hmm. But successful in my relationship, very happy, very much in love. But at times I find myself scared with what I'm going to do next. And I think that's probably the most honest thing I can say about our journey so far is that I'm scared at times. Not of losing anything, just about what I might find out about myself. But definitely want to do hard things. I did a drag show, super hard. That mindset of I want to do hard things, and that has really propelled like that learning about myself. And I have shared with Lizzie about finding my place and what that might look like. And it's been a great journey so far.
That's awesome, man. I love that you used the word, both that you brought the fear part forward, because the fear part is real for all of us. Is like, what am I going to find in the quiet that is here? Because sometimes we keep ourselves busy so we don't have to hear things or see things or recognize things. And so the quiet is intimidating. The space is intimidating. It's both a gift and it's also terrifying, because it's like, well, what do I find out? And I know I went through a period of trying to just quiet that fear and embrace it to be able to figure out what I am about. But it was both exciting and terrifying, because you just like, what if I find out something I'm not ready to find out? What if or I'm not ready to accept, right? And when you go through that process, again, you have safety. You have your basic needs met and covered. So there's no downside to having this exploration. But like, there could be a bit of a personal reckoning with who you are, and maybe even sadness. Like out of mine came a period of, and I still have a period of sadness, because I realized that I took a fork in the road in my life early on in college that could have had a very different story, and maybe one that would have been better for me. Not financially, not in every way, shape, or form, but spiritually, it could have been a lot better for me. And I would have, I could have had a very different outcome. I could have been a very different person. And that was scary for me to recognize and to have to accept. It's like, and that's why I wrote the book that I wrote, is called Taking the Steeper Path to Greater Goals. Because I found that the biggest thing that dictated the story of my life was taking the clearer path to lesser goals. So going into, and it sounds, the world's smallest violin is going to play for all of us when we talk about going into tech in the 90s and being a part of the boom that happened, that brought us all a lot of gifts and blessings that many people would like to have. It also came at a cost, and there is a cost to anything we do. And that to me was the clearer path. It was like, oh, do this and you'll be financially secure. Do this and you'll be, involved in the hottest and greatest thing. You'll have social status. You'll have recognition. You'll have whatever from your peers. And
supposed to do this.
Yeah,
this is what a successful person looks like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what parent would ever fault their kid for being financially secure? And
it's funny. I hear you and Rich talk, like Rich and I have had these discussions of looking back. I'm like a goldfish. I don't ever rehash that part of my career. I took a path and I'm thankful for it. And that's it. I don't know awesome. Why. But looking forward without a roadmap makes me feel uncomfortable. Right. And so it's funny. I think of kids now with AI and tech, and that's gone away, right? It is not what we had. It's never going to be. Even my kids didn't go to Harvard, didn't have the Stanford degree or whatever to go work at tech companies, which was what, Len, you and I, where we lived, what they were encouraged to do. And now I'm glad they didn't. They're doing things they love. So I guess I see it more in reflected in, I'm glad my kids made choices that made them happy, but I have no hindsight in this. I do recognize patterns of what we talked about with the knitter. Ooh, this isn't going to work for me because it came from that time. But to me, the cost of it outweighs the benefits now. I don't know what else it would have been, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I had a hell of a ride. It was super fun. And yeah, it was stressful and there were shitty things and all sorts of stuff and shitty people, but
You also had fun.
I had fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, but then when the days were more unfun than fun, right? On a compound basis, that's when I was done.
Yeah. Totally get it. I would argue that you didn't choose the clearer path to lesser goals in that case. You chose the path that felt right to you at the time. And you got on it. And
which I have done before, because I left tech for 10 years before and did fashion and then came back. So maybe that's why I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You tried something else and you learned some lessons.
And I remember someone said to me, I remember thinking, I don't know how I feel about that statement. They said, I am just so impressed that you got hired at Google when you were over 50. And I was like, wow. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but I never saw. All right.
Yeah. I think it plays into the narratives that are out there today that anyone over 40 in tech is like an athlete. You're useless. You know, nobody's going to put you on the team if you're over 40.
And so maybe for me, like I left and then I came back, and I came back for a reason, and it was I needed to support myself.
Yeah.
Right? And so I guess I don't, because I went through that once, I don't have the same.
I think that's a really important question and distinction for your journey, because most people listening to this don't know anything about you or what you did, but you left tech and then you started your own clothing line. And then you ended up on a reality TV show.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty non-traditional. If there isn't a steeper path, I don't know what is, because fashion is incredibly challenging and difficult at every level.
Yeah. And then I was selling big orders to Nordstrom and QVC, and it was so stressful. And it was a small business at a point where I needed cash, and I didn't want to risk cash because I had kids and didn't make sense. So I thought, oh, I'll just go back to tech. And I guess it never occurred to me that would be hard. Right?
Yeah.
Never occurred to me that would be hard. I went to a startup, and then I went to Amazon, back to Microsoft and Google and Cisco.
Right.
And I guess it's not normal that you just walk in and do that.
Not really. I mean, there are women who take a 6-month maternity break who feel like they're unhireable again after leaving for 6 months. So it's you're right. It doesn't happen all the time, but you have a certain confidence and fearlessness that I don't know everybody has, that enables you to just walk right in the room and say, hey, I'm back, hire me. That's your personality, I think. And you're also awesome at what you do. And people are lucky to work with you. I think that's true. But I'm curious about the itch that led you to do the fashion thing, because I don't think I've ever talked to you about this. Like, when did you wake up and say, I want to leave tech and make clothes?
So I grew up in Michigan, where it was all about security and job security. That this is a part of who I have been. And so I actually wanted to go into fashion in college. So I did take a couple of fashion courses, but I didn't think I could make a living at it, because that part of me, that sort of, very logical part of me thought, this isn't going to work.
Right.
And so then when I left corporate life, originally it was in my head to stay home and take care of the kids, because 2 people working at Microsoft in the 90s was not a recipe for raising children, right? No. It was not. And so originally I thought, well, I'm going to stay home, but then it just started to come out, and I'm like, well, why not try this? And so I just kind of started trying things, and I had a friend who worked in fashion and taught me how to make patterns, and it just made sense to me. So I will say this, that journey into fashion was one where I didn't look at any other paths, and I just went. And then it became all consuming again in a different way that was stressful, that I didn't like. Glad I did it. Super fun, crazy experiences, right? Crazy experiences really taught me a lot about how to make product, probably more than if I stayed in tech, right?
Yeah. What did you learn about the fashion craziness versus the tech craziness that taught you, like, looked under the stone, saw some things that I didn't want to see, put the stone back down, walked away. Because I think this is really interesting, because you basically chose to explore your own steeper path midway career, went back to your old career, and now we're on your third act in many ways.
So the process is the same as building any product, right? You do a prototype, you scale it, you mass produce it, or whatever you do. So that part, very, very similar.
Yeah.
The underbelly of fashion, and Rich can talk about this because we were in Italy, is so ugly. And there's a word called garmento. Like, it is a shady, shady business unless you're a giant designer, right? Like, I've walked LA factory floors where it's not good. Everyone's like, oh, it's made in the US. Okay. Have you been to the factory?
Right.
And
sweatshops, like unsafe conditions, illegal immigrant.
I had someone who like mismanufactured things for QVC. They wanted to be paid up front. So contracts and just shady, shady stuff of what you're doing. Fashion. Do you want me to?
I'm going to have to pause because the gardeners just showed up. Thanks, guys. Let me just remove my dog who's barking her head off. Can you grab Millie? She is ruining my podcast.
I don't think she's ruining. I think she's additive. This is life now. I don't think you should take that out. Yeah. I had to take Ace away, our little dog, because he was eating the string from Rich's shorts.
Man, oh man. Sorry about that, guys. So the Garmento world.
So it was the thing that was refreshing about it is you either sell or you don't. There's one metric. There's no around, like it either sold or it didn't.
Or it didn't.
But when you're a small designer, like stores will take your product in. If it doesn't sell, you're the one that gets returned to. So it's very harsh, number one. It's very, a lot of schlepping. Everyone's like, oh, it's so glamorous, the fashion show. 10 minutes of glamour, hours. Like, I've been at trade shows steaming garments with no air conditioning. Like, you're carrying shit everywhere. And there's a click. It's very high school, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that was the most interesting is the metric of selling can be dependent on so many things. It's not super predictable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, some celebrity could wear something and it blows up, and then you have another problem of not being able to meet demand. Right. You just don't know.
It's capital intensive, and you have to be able to meet the demand or forecast correctly, or you end up with a ton of inventory in liquidation, or you can't sell enough because you can't make enough. And people are mean and judgmental. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times you'd get the one, what do you mean you're from Seattle? Or like, you don't know any, like, just mean, especially mean. You know? Yeah. And so in a weird way, Amazon felt far gentler and kinder than fashion. Wow. So I would say like, it's cutthroat. It's Shark Tank, and it's cutthroat. Yeah. And so in tech, there are things with relationships that we came to like and dislike, right? Like, that relationships mattered. They do not in fashion. You either sold or you didn't. It's like, it's very cutthroat, in my opinion. Very transactional in your experience. Very transactional, which in one way makes it super clear. Mm-hmm. But in another way, it can be soul sucking. Yeah. And the creative aspect of it that you thought might be there, or the ability to express yourself, was that fulfilling in any way? Or? So it's interesting. What I found the more I went was it is very hard to be creative on a deadline. Mm-hmm. And I don't like designers who are able to do it, more power to them. Like, and that's why they are where they are. That's why Tom Ford does what he does, right? Like, he has that ability. For me, what would happen was I'd have a very internal battle that became very unenjoyable, which is, if I make it this way, I like how it looks and it's more creative, but I can't mass manufacture it because it'll be too expensive. So like, that process of being practical, right brain versus left brain, became really hard for me.
And so as you grow a business, in the beginning, it's all fun. But as you grow this, it becomes more like, now I have to monitor the sell through at Nordstrom, and did it sell? Like, I remember going to Nordstrom Racks and I was getting complaints my stuff wasn't selling. Well, it wasn't even out on the floor. And so that became more of the work. And that really stops you from being creative.
Yeah.
So I think that if I was a funded designer where I just had to go think, it might be a little easier. I was doing everything because I was a small business. So that made it hard.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But I learned a lot. So I can't, I went on QVC. It was terrifying. Learned a lot.
Yes. You went through a lot of, amazing set of experiences that, you're my only friend that I know in the world who can say they've been on a reality TV show or on QVC. So hats off to you. I will say
QVC is the scariest thing I've ever done.
I can only imagine. Why was it so scary?
You're live into 100 million households. You practice, but like there's no people on the set, so the cameras all move, and there's so much going on. You have something in your ear. People have seen this in movies. Yeah. There's something in your ear. You're talking with the host. There are numbers going on, and it's just terrifying because you don't want to look stupid in front of all these people, right? This is not like a demo that crashes and you can like make a joke and walk off. Like the week before I went on, someone passed out on air. They were so nervous and it became a meme, right?
Dang.
So
yeah, I get it now. I get it. I mean, it's a cool experience, and I'm sure. Well, let me ask you this: did you regret doing it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't.
Of course not.
So yeah.
No.
So you learned a lot about yourself.
Again, do I think I was made for it? No. I did see people there who loved it and were made for it. I was not.
So the cool thing about what you did was you stepped into another possibility for your life and what it could have looked like, and you tried it on for size, and most people don't get the opportunity or have the courage to do something like that. So I think that's really cool and quite an advantage for you and Rich in what you're trying to do today, because you know a little bit about where the bodies are buried and how narratives can lead you to do something that may not be the right thing for you. Because this whole thing where I talk about the fork in the road, for me, I never took the time to go down that fork far enough to find out whether it was actually just a narrative, whether it was just a story I told myself, and that actually it wouldn't have been for me if I had tried it on for size. And so I think this is really great that you had the chance to do that and got almost a warm up for the stage you guys are in now.
Yeah. But it's funny though. It's funny that I chose, when I think about this, what we were saying, when I was like, oh, I think I'll do something and I'll think it'll be fashion again. And I'm like, as I'm talking right now, I'm like, oh man.
Didn't I learn?
No.
Yeah. I get it. Rich, did you have any experimentation or U-turns? I mean, I know you started out with a career in the military and then moved out of that. And
I think in this conversation you can show people by having a non-standard career, you can get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing to show people, because not everybody's wired to work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Like Lizzie, I had a career prior to this. I did 20 plus years in the Army. I had another structure growing up to start the families in my family. So my structure was athletics in the military. Taught me how to be a functioning adult with the circumstances I had to go. I retired over 10 years ago, and then went and did what I call the halfway house. I took a job working for a DoD as a contractor, as tech, kind of what I was doing before, logistics. Worked out great. Then that job left, and I got my undergrad and my MBA, which I thought at the time, as a kid, I would never be able to even fathom graduating college, let alone with a grad degree. It's one of my proudest moments as an individual achievement, to do that.
It's awesome.
and to prove to myself that I'm capable of doing it. That mindset of being capable of doing it is what I'm looking forward to embracing again. I think I've lost that over the probably 5 years. Embracing, like, what do I want to do? Lizzie has seen that come up more and more in our journey together. As I think both of us are starting to see the fruits of our labor as like the seedling coming through the ground, and now it's about time to bloom is how I look at it. And it's such a wonderful thing to be able to do. But it does have some consequences. You mentioned before, like, all three of us have very much gone to the mindset of we know what success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find success when you don't? That's the journey that we're on. So
yeah. Is it as your definition started to emerge or to shift in terms of what success might look like in this period of life?
Yes, I think it has for sure. I'll include myself in this sentence, but we're all conditioned. Success is dictated by other means. Usually it's qualified or quantified by somebody else, not by yourself. So recently I looked at success as like, I made it up today at 6 o'clock in the morning and didn't yell at the dog for being a dog at 6 o'clock in the morning and getting up. So to me, that is a success. So
yes.
So those things have been more eye-opening, more emotional as I talk about it in experience.
Yeah, man. I'm asking you this because this is what's going to be the signposts on the roadmap you guys are on now, or the milestones. It's like starting to notice what it looks like to find or to redefine success for you, because the old metrics are you've chosen to walk away from it, and money is not the goal at this point in time. So if it's not the goal, then what is? And that's what you have to kind of create your own new currency around. And that's what this journey that you guys are now, only about 6 months into, will continue to be about. Is sort of like, what are those metrics? What does it look like? And there's this exercise that I do with a lot of people that I did with myself a long time ago. That is one of the hardest exercises I've done in coaching. It's called the perfect day. And the perfect day, Lizzie's smiling because she knows about the perfect day exercise. The perfect day is you write a story from the perspective of two things. In a world where you have no restrictions on resources, your time, health, or money, you had abundance. You didn't have to do anything. All your basic needs are met. And in fact, they're more than met. You could do things that most people couldn't. What would your perfect sustainable day that you could live over and over again for the rest of your life look like? And don't just say something at a high level, and don't just say something at a hedonistic take, like, oh man, I would go do this crazy thing. I would indulge all day in pleasures and excess. It's like, no, you'll die if you do that every day. If it gets boring, it's got to be like, what would feel sustainable and fulfilling? Write that out hour by hour from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and give me all the details about it. What would you see the moment you opened up your eyes? What would your bedroom be like? What would be out the window? Who would be next to you, if anybody is next to you? What would you have for breakfast? What would you talk about at breakfast? And just go through every part of the day. And man, this is the hardest thing in the world to do. And the reason I'm curious, Lizzie has been through this before. I'd love to hear her part. But I mean, the reason I say it's the hardest thing to do is like, you either do one of two things. You either have never, ever indulged in thinking this way. And so it's like, God, I don't even know where to start. Or you swing too low. I have never had anybody bring me one of these things where they were like, wow, dude, that's pretty over the top. I think you need to rein this thing in. Most people who do it are like, I'm like, really? That's it? Oh, come on. You have more. You could do more than that, and they have to be given permission to even dream bigger. Right. And so I think this is part of the process, just like doing an exercise like this, you're doing it in real time. You're actually here right now in a situation where you don't have restrictions on your time. You have your basic needs met. You have some options to do things, to travel, to invest in a new business, to take courses, to go volunteer, to paint paintings, to write songs, to work at Walmart, whatever the hell you want to do, like you can do whatever you wanted. But that is overwhelming at the same time. So like, I'm curious, Lizzie, when you thought about this and how you think about it every day, what was hard for you to imagine a world where you had choices?
So I did this exercise with you, and there are similarities with the day I put down and not similarities, because at the time I thought it was all about travel and things like that. And now to me, it's not, right? Like I like sleep. So sleep, that part didn't change. I like good quality food. So that part didn't change. I think what's changed to me is it's not about a location or what I wake up and what I'm seeing. It's who I'm with. Yeah. There are pods of people that I want to spend time with. And that to me is a perfect day. And those pods of people are all over the world. So in this world now, I have a jet so I can fly with our bulldog. So that might be a little over the top, but that would be my perfect day, right? Because you can't drive to Tel Aviv to see your friends. So we do have to fly. Right. And I don't want to leave Ace because he's part of our family. So in my perfect day, we have a jet. Okay. And it has no turbulence ever because I don't want And I can sleep on it, right? We have Taylor Swift's jet. Like she lends it to me and maybe we're besties. I don't know.
That's cool. I like that.
So to me, like, and I think the other thing is too, there are two things about this. We talked about the perfect day gets me back into that structure of 24 hours. And what I was thinking when you were saying this is it's the perfect month or the perfect year because I can't possibly see everyone I'd want to see in one day. It's not possible. And I can't, and that is a hard requirement, right? Like you can't bend time. Like, okay, so then maybe my perfect day is I have Star Trek transporter technology, right? But I don't. That's not realistic. Yeah. So I like to have, so to me, I think it's also reframing it into the perfect month, knowing I can't fit everything into a day.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, that's a really cool addition or tweak to this. And I didn't invent this exercise. I learned it from another guy who spoke at a conference in like 1990 that I saw a YouTube video of. He's not even a coach. He works in marketing. And I was just so like, wow, this is such a cool exercise to do, to put yourself through. But now that I think about it, the day framing is given from a perspective of that's what most of us can wrap our head around. And now you don't have those boundary boxes. You can actually expand that out into something way bigger now, because it's a day is you don't have just a day. You have the rest of your life to think through. Right?
And so if you think of it in month chunks or year chunks, like I want to spend time with these people, I want to be in this place, I want to do right, like that to me is a little more. And I don't think I could have made that jump. I think you do it when you're working because that's how you frame your time. But then I think the exercise after you've decided to do something else is more that. Because to me, the other thing is I know there's a bucket of I want to make something. I don't know, but I don't know what I want to make.
That's
right?
Okay. I don't know either.
To me. But the other thing that you brought up that is real, that people are like, oh, this is all nice, that people ask us who know me, ask me more, is, oh my God, what about money? Like, how much money do I need? Like, what do I need? Like money, like, look, the deal is like, you're used to accumulating more money and all of a sudden it stops. Right. And we had dinner with friends' parents. You remember that, Rich, over Friendsgiving when it was a bunch of retired couples and it was friends' parents and they were talking to us and giving us advice about this, because they all went through this whole, the brass tacks of this is it takes resource and you have to plan.
You do.
And
100%.
I don't think that there's any number that you can give someone to make them feel better. You have to go through and work what your budget is, what you need, how you want to live, and work with a professional. That's what I always tell people, because you're too emotional.
100%.
And so I don't know if it's $1 million or $10 million or whatever it is you need. I just know you can only pull 4%. And that's very simple math.
Mm-hmm.
But you like are so used to your wealth growing and like buying the bigger house and the better car, and that stops.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that all stops.
Uh-huh.
And then like we had on our trip, the stock market crashed. So you have moments of like, right?
Helplessness.
Like our friends told us, don't look at the account. Don't look at the account daily. Just make sure our job is to stay within our budget. And if we don't, so for example, I used to have a lot of guilt with this. Like we had to leave Israel. It added substantial amount of expense for us. But what was my choice? Sitting with bombs over our head?
Right.
No, right? Like that's a very clear choice. But when you're looking at your budget, you're like, oh, I kind of fucked that up.
Right.
The budget, but like you have to like plan for the unexpected and be okay with it. That's why you have savings, but you're so used to putting things in a pile that changes. And that is the reality, and you have to get comfortable with that, or you can't do this part.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a whole nother level of things you can be anxious or stressed about.
100%. Yeah. The journey you have been on was a very adult and very planful journey. I want to be very clear about this one, because I never advocate for people to do things that are net harmful to themselves or to their families. You know, even if you're miserable in your job, unless it's causing you the amount of harm it's really, really very, very toxic and bad, you generally want to make sure you can have some sort of a reasonable transition plan. And when you go off on a journey this big in which you walk fully away from your career, you got to do the work to get yourself in that position, to have a planner, to plan ahead, to know what your budget is, to know what lifestyle you're comfortable with.
It took us about 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. Like we worked with a planner, and luckily Rich is in the Army. So has a pension, which is guaranteed. My investments are like this. So like but then we also had to downsize. That's the other thing.
That's right.
Right. Like, what do you want? Right. Like
you can't have it all.
You cannot. And downsizing for us was freeing. You know, others are like, how do you live in how do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
You do have to make choices and be okay with them, and really think through them. It's not something you just, I think I want to do this, right? Like, unless you're like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, like we're not those people. And it does take a plan.
Right. It does.
And that plan could be 10 years long, but having a plan helps. That's the one thing I will say. Having a plan helps.
And that plan buys you the space to be able to think about things like your perfect month or year.
Yeah. But that is reality, right? Like that is totally reality. Yep. Like otherwise you can't. And so this, like, I think people think, oh, this all sounds so nice. But like that, I think is the number one question I got. Like, how did you get there?
Yep.
How did you get there?
And I was with you on this journey and saw the deliberateness you put into this and the sacrifice you put into this, because you were not having a great time in your work for a long time. And you wanted nothing more than for the pain to stop. But you played a long game, and you planned, and you were responsible and methodical about how you approached it. And I think the point you're making is really critical. This both the option to be able to live and take a more unconventional path. You either have to be born rich, which none of us were, and have that kind of inherited generational wealth you can fall back on. Or if you're not that person, you've got to work and save and invest and be deliberate and make smart choices and be planful and put up with stuff you don't want to put up with for a long time potentially. And then you need to make sure you're responsible about what can I really afford with what I have and what's my number, right? People ask me all the time, like, well, how much money do I need to do this? And the answer I tell them is enough. And they're like, well, how much is enough? I'm like, that answer is specific to you. Because for me, enough might be a studio. But for you, it might be a 4-bedroom because you have 2 kids who are adults still living with you. I mean, I can't tell you what that number is. And so for you, having one car that the family shares might be fine. For another person, they may not have the ability to do that because they have too many people needing to drive a car. So you have to really be honest about it and ask yourself, what's enough for me? And both of us, went from living in San Francisco in the city, with the city lifestyle and expenses that come with it, to now living in really different places and really different homes.
Yep.
Right?
And I like it, but you also Rich and I talked really openly about this. That's the other thing. Like if you have a partner and you guys can't talk about this, that's not going to
yes.
That's not going to work, right? Because we talked super openly about how we went through the budget, how we wanted to live, and certain priorities, right? There are certain things I'm not willing to do because we were willing to give up living in San Francisco because if we wanted to retire and maintain the lifestyle we have, that's probably 5 more years, 10 more years of work.
Yeah.
We were willing to change that. I'm not willing to fly in seat 52D for 12 hours to Europe.
Sure.
I'm not. I don't have to fly first class, but it's incredibly uncomfortable for me. So you make those trade-offs and making them in terms of priorities, not in terms of judgment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I would rather have less but higher quality than more of everything in a giant house.
I'm with you. Not everybody is with us, but yeah, I get it.
And things that are functional for the place we're in. So that is probably, I would say, both of our number one priorities, things that are functional. We had this little Fiat, which we loved, but not super functional in Denver, Colorado.
Yep. It was a good San Francisco car, not necessarily a good mountain car.
And we went back and forth of we did a camper van or we did van life in Europe after Tel Aviv. And we thought about doing it here, but then we actually did the research and realized we'd have to spend a lot of time fixing things. And we're not those people. That's not enjoyable to us.
Not a resource we want to invest in. I think that's what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
This conversation really led me to think, how much of our resources do we want to put into something or into someone?
Yeah.
I get it.
And so we wanted a hybrid and so we ended up, getting a hybrid SUV and it's been great. But awesome. The reason it's great is because it's functional for what we want to do. And so I think that is our number one thing. Is it functional for what we want to do and are we going to use it? Right.
I love it.
And those are the things where I think you start finding yourself, right? And small things like you redid, the physical things that were part of one life, letting go, even things like wardrobe, right? I recently, my whole wardrobe was San Francisco black, right? Black V-neck jacket. It was, and I'm this is not functional for my life right now. I feel like I look like a caterer in Denver, right? Or I work in the speakeasy without the facial hair, right? So, things like that are interesting to kind of let go of.
Yeah. That's really cool. Speaking of the two of you going through this journey, I could relate to that really important thing you said, that if you have a partner, you need to be able to speak really openly about this stuff and get on the same page. You guys are not that long in your history together, and this was a huge step off into another chapter of your relationship and your work. So it's double important in many ways. What are the things that you guys talked about and what did you struggle with, and what would you recommend other people with partners do to kind of get through this? Because this is a values alignment. This is about getting on the same page about a lot of things. And hopefully if you pick the right partner, it's not a hard conversation. Maybe it's difficult at times, but it's not like, oh my God, we didn't know who each other was. But like we have little rules in my relationship, like, buy nice or buy twice. We don't buy the cheapest thing for the sake of the cost being low. We look at the big picture, right? So when we decide to move and we have to buy new things, we don't have to argue over should we buy this one or that one, because the rule is this thing going to need to be replaced in a year because we bought the cheap thing? Or should we have bought the one that was the mid-priced one and it would last for 5? And so like having a philosophy about something like that when you're making a move, you're going to buy a lot of new things when you move to a new location. And so you got to kind of go through all this process. What did you guys work through?
I don't think that we were pretty aligned on what we wanted to buy. I mean, wouldn't you say, Rich?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of our values were aligned naturally and didn't even need to bring them up, kind of thing. They were just fortunate enough to be that way.
And I'm the planner and researcher, so I would bring options, and I'm like, I think we should do this. Like, it was very like there was nothing
very smooth
there. I think that,
and I'd much rather be the laborer or the driver person to go get the things. And really, that's my strength. And I think finding a partner and playing to each other's strengths as individuals and as a couple, like for me, planning something like a trip would drive me crazy and insane, and I'll be irritable. And that would affect my relationship with my spouse, right? So please take care of it. That'd be a great honor for me. I'm
crazy planner with like, I'm very particular where we stay.
I know.
And
I'm not, so it works out great. So.
And then I also have like, I'll stay, like we're going to San Diego. And so we're going to stay at like this Americana hotel. And like, for me, it's about the experience.
Yeah.
Right. But then I also have the bougie side of me where when we left Tel Aviv and went to Athens, I'm like, we're staying at the Four Seasons because I've stayed there and we're going to spend some resource, and you were fine with it. And then I'm like, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to ruin you. And what happened?
It ruined me. But I think, like what you said earlier, Lynn, about communication is really the key, whether you're with a partner or not.
Yeah.
Like, is really what was our strength with us. And we've had some ups and downs, but I think overall, like we're way, way stronger now than we've ever been. Even with a life change of like moving to a new city, retiring, like leaving behind a lifestyle that we've both enjoyed. And the benefits of it are amazing as well. But we're on this journey together now, which is amazing.
Yeah. And so the finance part wasn't, I think, the thing that I don't want to say struggle because we do openly talk about things. We were living in Rich would get up at 5 and wouldn't be back till 8 at night. I'd be in the apartment all day alone. And now we're in like 650 square feet or a camper van and together all the time. Right. And so working through that rhythm, I don't want to say that we argued about it, but that was our challenge, right? I am not a morning person at all. I like to sleep in, and I don't like to be spoken to until at least 10 in the morning. And so we'd have mornings where Rich would be like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Blah blah blah, and I'm like, I can't. So like just like being honest about those things, and it's not personal to the other person, but figuring out how you exist in 24 hours together is, I think, the work that's the more, I don't want to say difficult, but the more, the other stuff is resources. That's like, so I don't know. What would you say to that, Rich?
I think you're spot on. I think maybe the aspect of retiring, no matter what age you are in a relationship, is what do you do with that time that is now available that you didn't have before? I know Lizzie is very much a person who enjoys her peace and quiet, right? Above anything else, because that's her safety, is her peace and quiet, and able to feel that way. For me, I like a little more edge at times. I like the aspect of like a last minute going to see in a concert. Just as an example, which I've done in Denver without Lizzie, but we've had to have that conversation. Like, how does one recharge their batteries to truthful for themselves and to be there for their partner. Like like we're in this together, not like we're doing this solo. So you have that kind of mindset to go into it.
But then also say it's okay for you to go do this on your own, but you still want to maintain a connection and that it's healthy. Right. And so for both of us, there was a fear in that. But like, I think the physical need of like, I go like after this weekend with, we were with a bunch of people, like I needed to recharge, and recharging for me means not leaving the apartment, being in my sweats, cooking. Like I don't want to see. And for Rich, it means, oh, there's an emo show. I think I want to go. And I think you have to be able to work through the fact that that's okay to do both. But like, I don't want him to stay home and be antsy, and I don't want to go and be miserable. So being really honest about that, right?
Yeah.
Is important. So coming together for the things you like to do. We love road trips. We and even working through, I have weird depth perception issues when we're driving on mountain roads that I have to tell him, it's not your driving. I'm just feeling a little, like being really open about just things that you see on TV that couples fight about, right? That's like, not the money part, because that you have to be aligned on. If you're going to fight on that, you shouldn't even go here, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but then it's like the things of like, you're driving too fast and I feel scared. It's not you. It's because I'm seeing things in a weird way and I feel uncomfortable. Right. And so being able to say it like that versus like white knuckling, we've all seen the husband and wife on vacation with the wife, all the stereotypes. It's not that. It's I see things differently and I'm afraid. Right. So those I think are where they're not being in a relationship where you can say that, which neither of us have been. The uncomfortableness is feeling okay to verbalize it. It's my own. It's not, you know what I mean?
I feel you.
But those are things like if you're going to be together 24 hours a day, like shit changes.
It's going to come up. It's going to come up.
It will. And also being with yourself 24 hours a day. Right? Not just together, but with yourself. Because like I said, when you're at work, you've got everybody else's priorities and noise in your ear. And now you're like, gosh, it's just me with my thoughts and, my flaws and my impulses and all the stuff I got to manage now. I got to now listen to myself more than I used to have to do. And now I got to then translate that into a relationship. So the space is good. It surfaces a lot, but it also can be scary at times. Yeah.
So those are and that's when you're really getting down to it, right? So if I was going to give advice, I'd be like, work out the finances before you do anything and see if you can talk openly. But then this is what comes up, right?
Yep. That was what I was going to ask you next, is that if you met somebody like you in your position that you were a year ago, what advice would you give them? Or what learnings would you pass on of what you've taken from your journey of walking away from a perfectly good set of careers and deciding to walk a different path, to go about it a different way and to redefine what success looks like for you?
It's funny because people have asked me this and I go to one piece of advice that actually you gave me.
I love it. Okay, we'll give it again.
What's your life worth? Right? Like if you're miserable in your job and you are having anxiety, like this is a lot of the conversations I've had because a lot of my friends work in tech and it's very stressful and it's very demanding right now. And it is what it is. And some people are doing really well. Some people are not. And I'm like, what is a year of your life worth? And that to me, when you said that to me, I was like, it is not this. It is not worth this for me. And so that was probably the clarifying statement. And then all the advice about all the other stuff we gave.
Yeah.
That's workable. But like that, looking at that question, honestly, is, I think, the starting point to being honest with yourself.
You want to give some more context on what we mean by what is a year of your life worth? Financially?
It's not financially, emotionally, health-wise, who you are as a person, right? Like if you're like not super enjoying your life and going through the motions just to pay the rent? Like, is that worth it? Could you have a
It's
smaller
just time
place?
not being used doing things that would bring you joy,
Yes.
Right?
which is
And
where I come from.
yeah. Because I think I told you that when Len said that, and we had a long conversation about it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
all of the things, right? Like, do I need to live in the city in an $8,000 a month apartment where I have to DoorDash everything because I can't even get up from my computer to go to the bathroom? What is that worth to me? Not a year of my life. Like, time is the one. I think I've seen like Warren Buffett talk about this. It's the one resource you don't know how much you have, and you don't get any more.
Yeah. It's the ultimate level playing field for all of us. Bill Gates has no more time than you do.
Nope.
Right.
And so you don't know. And, I think, Len, you and I have talked about this. One of the pivotal moments over the last probably 15 years for me was a good friend of ours passed away from a heart attack at 50. Mm-hmm. And it was like this. And Rich and I are close with his spouse. And like, to me, what's a year of your life worth, right? Like, I knew for me, working the way I was working was not healthy and could put me on that path. I knew it, right? Like, for me. Doesn't mean for everyone, for me.
Yep.
And so you don't know. I think I've seen more things saying, no one's ever looked back and said, God, I didn't work enough.
Absolutely true.
Right.
Absolutely true. There's a book that was written by a hospice nurse a couple of years ago, in which she had conversations with people who were dying. And the spoiler alert from that entire book, which is pretty hard to read and also beautiful and profound, is not a single person regretted any of the things that they've spent their life trying to do, not doing them more. Working more, being away from home more, being away from their friends more. They regretted everything but work, right? And so it's just sort of like, why does it take? Why are we so stubborn? Why are we so thick as a species? I don't know. Some days that we can't get to that realization sooner. Why do we have to die to see things clearly?
And so, like, I don't want to say that, like, some people really do enjoy their work, and that's great. Amen. Right? Yeah. Like, and if that's the thing that they love, cool. And also, I don't want to say that, like, you should quit today because you might regret it. I think that's the pivot you have to figure is the next year of and maybe you look at it in year chunks. Is the next year of my life, am I going to be happy I spent my time this way? Because you don't know, right? And for me, that answer became no.
That's right.
And so then I had to start looking at how I could pivot.
I want to double click on the thing you said, and then I want to talk to Rich about his response here. But you said some people enjoy their work. Work is not work for them. And that is exactly what this is all about, is how do we create a life of alignment? How do we create a life in which who we are, the gifts, the talents, the abilities that we have, how we work, our bodies, our brains, who we were born as, our genetic material. And then you build on top of all that foundation, your values, your interests, your passions, the things you care about every day. If you could have a job, quote unquote, in which everything that you were was in alignment with what you did, then you're not working anymore. And so, that's the goal of even stepping away from a career like this, is one, to do less harm, but two, to have a shot to figure out what is not work, but yet is productive to me, enjoyable and fulfilling. And yet maybe even generates money. Maybe it'll generate more money. Doesn't always end up that way. But, I would argue every person I've ever met who was an amazing and brilliant person in their industry, and I've met quite a few, they were having that level of success because of who they were, not because they worked any harder than you and me.
And I will also say now it's an unbelievable time in tech where I've never seen anything like this. And I think you would agree.
Oh, yeah.
Where with AI coming in, with constant layoffs, with the culture changing so dramatically, I've never seen so many people looking for a different alignment because of how the industry is evolving. So like, I think that's also an important fact. Like if we were having this conversation in the 90s when we were at Microsoft, we would have been like, this is great, right? Like it's not right now.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing, I feel like it's the emperor's new clothes. Like, you know, everybody's already known for decades that the emperor was naked, but now you're actually, there's no cost to saying he is, you know, because it's becoming clear.
Yeah. And I'm super thankful for my timing in the industry.
Yeah,
it helped me get where I was. It helped me stay it helped me get here, but it also helped me exit at a time where it was no longer in alignment with what I want to do and who I want to be.
Yeah, I feel that. That's why I'm doing this work, because I feel like this message of alignment is something we all need to wrap our heads around. Work doesn't have to be work. Work can be anything we want it to be, as long as it feels good to us and who we are and how we're made and what we care about. And oftentimes you can make a living doing that too, but we just aren't encouraged to explore that.
And I will say, I think we met many people on our van trip that did that. Don't you think, Rich? When we drove from Italy to Brussels, and like we met a Dutch couple who retired but were bored, so they bought a chateau and like do like camping and Airbnb. They have their 2 dogs. We just met, like there was this Tuscan farm with a family that ran it. And I don't know if it's an American thing, but the people we met during our road trip seemed to be completely aligned in what they were doing and happy about it.
It's a beautiful thing. So you see it's possible.
Yeah.
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 Rich, tell me about what you would share with others if you run into somebody who's kind of in the same place as you guys were.
I think if you're having this, let me share that if you're having a discussion with this, you already know the answer. And a little emotional, but nobody ever told me it's okay to dream big. And that's why I would tell them, dream big.
Yeah, man.
Because why not, right? The other aspect of it, I knew pretty early on that I wanted to retire. That's why I joined the military. That's one reason why I stayed 20 years, was that I could have that possibility of doing it. The possibility came reality when I met Lizzie. Her alignment matches my alignment, using your terminology, which I think is amazing. So
yeah,
it's made this journey easy. I would say if you have somebody that you can go on this journey with that has the same values and goals, then you will never be bored. You'll have an amazing time. It's worth it. Physically, I don't want to be that 70-year-old dude with the swoop on his back who's bent over and can't enjoy all the hard work that he or she has done to get there.
Amen.
And that is the underlying foundation of why I would tell somebody, advice I would give them, you got mentioned time earlier. Another thing that's not guaranteed is our health. So what I can do now at 54, I'm not be able to do at 65. So let's enjoy those things. And the other thing I told Lizzie, I think I told you this before, is like, that's the only way I can think of honoring the work that you did to get there. Is to do it. So.
Is to do it.
Rich and I have said this, and I think you've said it. It feels disrespectful not to.
Yes.
Yeah.
More than it felt scarier to keep going the way we were than do this. And when you know that, then you have to pull the ripcord. And we both knew it. And we both knew we were getting there from probably the time we met, because it was something we shared, that we wanted to travel. We wanted to downsize. We wanted to do things differently.
I fully get it. And it's amazing. I actually wrote a post on LinkedIn last week about a client of mine, with their permission, who who had a health scare, a pretty scary health scare, and was psyched about it. And I was like, wait a second, why are we psyched about being sick? And after we dug into it, the thing she was psyched about was that the health scare gave her permission to accept what she already knew, which is that she needed to quit her job. But it gave this justified, publicly accepted reason to do it, right? And I think when you talk about like you already know a truth inside of you, but you just are afraid to accept it. Again, let's go back to the same logic with dying and saying, I wish I hadn't done this. We don't need to get sick to give ourselves permission to not suffer, right? We don't need to do that. That's not good for us. That's not loving yourself. That's not loving others. It's not respecting the work you put in. Why do you need to get sick to give yourself permission to leave a bad situation? Right? It doesn't add up. So, I'm really grateful that you guys got here on your own without a forcing function, as we like to say in tech. I'm really grateful that you were deliberate and thoughtful in how you went about this. I'm really grateful to have been a part of your journey up to this point and to get you to tell some of this story to the world. And I'd love to have this conversation again in another 6 months or a year, because I think, just to see this laboratory is helpful for others to see, hey, we had careers. It was perfectly good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it didn't feel right. So we decided we'd listen to our bodies and fix it. And now we've made big changes and we're kind of in that the messy middle. It is like,
the messy middle.
It's the messy middle.
And the other thing is people ask so many questions, right? People actually want us to have that forcing function. What has been funny is people can't comprehend we just did it.
Yes.
Like everyone's like, I forgot who asked me this. I can't remember where we were, Rich, but remember someone said to me, did you leave work on your own or were you laid off?
Right.
I'm like, I wish I was laid off because then I would have gotten a pat. No, I just decided to, and it was like mind boggling to them that like I would have made this choice when so many people are getting laid off, which is very sad. I get it, but I would have viewed being laid off as a gift.
You and so many other people I know. Meta just had a big round of layoffs, and I used to work there, and I know a lot of people there, and I have some clients there, and I actually had a number of people, when I wrote to them the night before and said, hey, I know the news is coming out tomorrow. If you need anything, give me a shout. They're like, what I need you to do is pray I get laid off. And I was like, but don't you got kids in college? They want permission. They want permission to let go of the misery. Yep.
And so and that the other thing too for me is both my kids finished college and are self-sufficient. And so that's another piece of resource that's important. That's reality.
Yeah.
But I had a friend of mine, one of my mentors, who did not get laid off, but his boss laid himself off, and now he has more responsibility. And he's like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
I feel you, man.
So I think if the forcing function happens, and that's what I would say to, like, I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn pontificating and laying off and how scary it is. And it's all of those things, but it's also an opportunity, depending on where you are, to really examine things.
I agree. It can be a kick in the ass from the universe that people need sometimes. And sometimes it's the worst thing possible to happen to them. So, but embracing it is the key, no matter what it is at the moment. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to talk and to share all this. And I know we'll be doing this again soon.
Thank you. You have been so helpful in our journey as both a friend and a coach. Like, the one thing I will say to end with, like, the other thing I've told people when they said, how did you do this? And I said, you need a coach and a therapist. You need both. And they're two different things. And you helped us clarify things, which I think is really important. And then we each had our own therapist to work through our own baggage with this. So that's the last piece of advice I have.
I love that one. Well, thank you for your kind words and for your trust and for your friendship over the years. It's rare that I I get to work with somebody in the capacity both as a coworker and friend, one in one decade, and client in another, and still friend. And so it's cool to be a part of these journeys with people and to do my work, because you guys are actually a part of me being able to live my alignment. Because without you, I wouldn't be able to do what I do either. So thank you for those kind words. And I do 100% agree that it's everything you just talked about, all the scaries, all the complexity. It's a head game. And if you're going to try to walk through one of the scariest head games of your life alone, I mean, even if you have a partner or good friends who are wise, or parents or whoever who's willing to help you, this is a different type of decision. And so having somebody who has a way to help you manage emotions and the saboteur behaviors that are going to get in our way from our past, the narratives and the feelings that are going to come up, and somebody who knows how to walk the path objectively forward is a super helpful combination. So I'm so glad you guys invested in yourselves that way, because you're here today because you not only did the hard work, but you also invested in yourselves.
The steeper path, the climb I choose, leaving comfort, nothing to lose. Through shadow trails and rocky ground, my purpose clear, my meaning found. Each step I take brings strength anew. Challenges faced, resilience grew. A journey tough, but richly sweet, where soul and life's alignment meet. At peaks ahead, the vision clear, my greatest goals becoming near. The steeper path, though hard and slow, is where my truest self will grow. The steep